Nozintombi Miya, who's somewhere in Johannesburg for us. Nozintombi, I understand you've arrived at a community that hasn't allowed the looters to win. Tell us more.
Thank you so much, Nompu. We are here in Tembisa. We've been in Tembisa since earlier this morning, and we were on just the other side of Tembisa, about less than 5 kilometers away from where we are right now. Right now we're standing right outside the Birchwood Acres Center. We were earlier at the Tembisa Plaza with the Premier of Gauteng, who was embarking on a cleanup operation with community members. And just to give you a little bit more context about this center that we're standing at, on Monday, looters tried to storm this particular building. And as you can see, that this particular building was protected by these gentlemen that you see sort of standing here, littered around here. They are the community members that live here that absolutely refuse to allow the looters to come anywhere near where this center is. And you'll see that they actually cordon off the area with some of the police tape to make sure that they deter the looters from coming in and trying to storm this center. And it's one of the centers that managed to survive, but the garage that's right opposite has been completely looted. It's been absolutely closed off. There's, cars are struggling, cars and taxis are struggling to access petrol because this garage plus another garage that's about a kilometer down the road has also been looted. So the community here says they refuse to allow the looters to come into the center that's got quite a number of shops here. And there was some gunfire exchanged between the residents and the looters. And we heard from what the Premier said earlier in his briefing at the Tembisa Plaza that 6 bodies were found overnight in the center itself, the Tembisa Plaza Center. And he says that death toll then brings to Gauteng a total of 26 people who have died in this week alone as a result of the looting and the altercations, the ensuing altercations between either the looters themselves, the residents protecting their areas from the looters, or from the police or members of the SANDF. So this center here managed to survive as a result of the men and women that you see, behind me, surrounding me, standing in front of this center, refusing to allow the looters to come anywhere close to that. Nompu.
Positive community story, but how have they been able to distinguish between the chaff and the wheat, if I can put it like that, in the sense that we've seen that looters don't just run by foot, they also run in fancy cars?
You're quite right, Nompu, and it's been quite a difficult task for state security agents to really get a lot of information. And in his briefing, the Premier said that they're relying on the community members to make sure that they give them intelligence, because they're the ones that are sitting here in the communities. They're the ones that are seeing these cars that are not familiar cars. They're the ones that are seeing the buses or the minibus taxis coming in to drop people off so that those people can start with the looting. So what this group of men and women are doing is they've formed a little barrier or a barricade, and those faces that are not familiar to them, they will ask them, do you live around here? Do you not live around here? And many of them have lived in this community for many years, so they're quite familiar with each other. And they're already heightened to cars that are not familiar cars. Taxis, each and every single taxi that we've seen here has come up with a sticker for this particular area or for the Tembisa area, has clear identification of where it comes from. The people that are driving in and out of here, have got cars that are familiar to the people around here. I mean, earlier in the morning, this entire section of the road had been closed off, and they were really limiting the amount of movement. The concern again is around policing. When the Premier and his cavalcade, when they were here earlier in the morning, there was quite a number of police presence here that were doing roadblocks and road checks. But as soon as the Premier left, so did that police contingent. And this becomes a recurring problem. We've seen it in Alex, we've seen it in Soweto, we've seen it here in Tembisa. When the political principals leave the area, the police also leave the area, which makes policing very difficult. And it frustrates the communities that live in those areas. And these communities are the community members that have taken a stand and said they're not going to allow protesters to loot Nampo.
Good on them. Thank you very much, Nozintombi, for that positive story. My colleague there, Nozintombi Miya.